Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Yes, we hope everybody is doing well. And before we get going, as always, and would encourage everybody, make sure you are subscribed to both channels, EEARTS and also Evolutionary Energy Arts. If you hear a strange sound, it's Rama chewing on a bone.
Yes, he wants everyone to see and hear and know that he can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. He could do it, and so can the policymakers. But what will they do? Well, I don't think there's a lot of faith that a lot of people have in anything systemically anymore.
No, I mean, people are really finding out the truth. They're understanding. If you go and you look at anything the professionals are saying and you do just the opposite, you'll probably be okay.
Absolutely. So, let us get an update over here and just listen along.
Looking forward, rapid changes are taking place in the global monetary system that may affect the international role of the dollar in the future. Most major economies already have or are in the process of developing instant 24/7 payments. Our own FedNow service will be coming online in 2023. And in light of the tremendous growth in crypto assets and stablecoins, we are examining whether a U.S. central bank digital currency would improve upon what is an already safe and efficient domestic payment system. As our white paper on this topic notes, a U.S. CBDC could also potentially help maintain the dollar's international standing.
There's a lot of things changing rapidly. I think, and it's something that we keep seeing when we're talking to people that we're working on energetically on a daily basis, is so many people knew this was coming. Us that are quote unquote preppers, so to speak, and spiritually awakened, we knew it was coming, but still, I think that the pace with which everything is rolling out is really actually shocking a lot of people. Even those that really knew this was all going to happen.
Yeah, there's always that thing when you hear something is going to happen and then something actually does happen. Then it's like the jaws can really hit the floor. And our preparation for everything that we're about to see, I think a lot of people, no matter how prepared they are, once it really happens, they're going to realize, they weren't quite prepared. And that's where we don't want to bite off more than we can chew. Just keep doing little bits to be ready for this, and you're going to be doing just fine.
Well, I just told Cindy too, like we last year, we just got started really late. It was kind of a late year for us. We just wanted to test things as far as the garden, because we didn't get to really plant anything to the end of August, early September, which is a good time to start planting our cold weather stuff, early September. But like I said to her today, I said, well, we got, what do we have? 36 pepper and tomato plants. So we have like 18 of each, peppers and tomatoes. But I think I would probably double that. Just because we eat a lot of peppers and tomatoes and a lot of onions, and we are kind of good to go with lentils, beans, rice, and then those things to kind of accent it. And just thinking long term, again, we don't know how deep in this is going to go, how to use the terms that I see all the time now, how Mad Max this world's going to turn out exactly. Is it going to be as bad as some have been thinking? Is it going to be not that bad? Yet we do see the change, and it's rapid. And of course, going to a digital currency is something that's been talked about. And again, there's nothing there to back it. Now, when we see what's happening over in Russia, here's Putin making a statement: unipolar order has ended, period. West headed for change of elites as Russia emerges stronger. So now you have Putin basically saying the elites are going to change in the West, and the unipolar order has ended. Yeah, the old order is ending right now, and we're going to get a new world order that we've all heard about since Bush Sr. 1991, 1992 is one of those years. I remember he came out with it. That statement right out in the open. You could trace that back even farther, though. This is something that's been planned for a very, very long time. And yet, the change of elites, Yeah, it's going to be just the ones that we're used to seeing. But still, the real controllers are the same beings. That's not changing.
Right. No, and I don't think that there's anybody going to ride up on their horses and save us either. It's not that kind of an order. It's not that kind of announcement. So once again, we got to keep bringing ourselves back to reality and realize you're going to have to, looks like you're going to have to do for yourself for a little while and just bridge that gap for yourself as best as you can. Work with other people, and sometimes that's going to have challenges, but guess what, in working with other people there's going to be a whole lot of healing that's just well deserved for everything that we've gone through.
So did the elites change in the French Revolution? Well, yeah, the ones that people knew. But again, did the whole global control system change? No, it didn't really. It's the same control system, but for the elites that were, these are mid-management people that we see. At best, they're mid-management. I don't even think that you could truly even call them mid-managers, really. Just to put them on a par with something that we might think of in a corporate sense. The French Revolution was a period of radical political and societal change in France that began with the Estates General of 1789, ended with the formation of a French consulate in November of 1799. Many of its ideas are considered fundamental principles of liberal democracy. Phrases like liberté and égalité, fraternité, reappear in other revolts, like in the 1917 Russian Revolution. Yeah, and these were brutal times. And why do we bring this up? Well, because we all know that they ended up making the guillotines, and even like local lords and ladies were subject to those guillotines. So yeah, it was a mess. It was a very, very ugly time in many ways. And yeah, there was a reign of terror. These people that were living the life of luxury at the expense of people that couldn't afford to even buy a loaf of bread. I mean, this was a horrible period. This was really tough, trying period. And this is the type of time that's being reproduced right now. And then I think of, famous son of France, Nostradamus, in his letter to his son, basically talking about the time period we're in, and he talks about 3 antichrists, right? Hister was one of them, and of course Hitler, many take for Hister, but Hister is also the name of the Danube as well. So it's interesting, it's named, it's a river's original name. Again, there's so much wordplay going on, but yeah, the general energies, I guess we could say they're kind of similar to what's brewing worldwide. And, economically, it was a very, very tough time in France. And, of course, the monarchy ended, and, a lot of people got very, very close shaves. Most definitely. It was a bloody, brutal time that seems to be reproducing itself now on a global stage. And as we had talked about, so, it could be that this is the end of the line for so many of the elites, as Putin is basically speaking of. There's going to be a change of elites, but the controllers don't really change. The controllers are behind the scenes, always operating from the shadows. So again, the power structure will change. Things will become ultimately even tighter with more technology, more intrusive, invasive technology. Here we see bank run in Dandong City in Liaoning province. Now, do we know it's real, or is it something different? Maybe it's one of those boy bands having a concert. But, yet we don't really know. Jennifer Zhang has been out there a lot. She's been out there also with all the Wuhan stuff. It seems like she popped up kind of out of nowhere, at least apparently to me, during, when the first part of the Plague Upon the Land crisis happened. And, do we really know that maybe she's working for the FBI, maybe the CIA, Or maybe she's working for the CCP. We don't really know. That's the hard part. That's where we again have to work on our own personal discernment. But read the weather, and see what the weather is showing. Is there great change? Oh yeah. No, this is not a false alarm. This is not, as so many people will say, nothing's really going to happen. No, things really are happening this time. And what we saw in 2008 won't even come close to what we're seeing manifest now. This is why we really do have to try to get ourselves extricated as much as possible from the system, which, the system is so obviously, it's so flawed. It's beyond being flawed. It's intentionally flawed, purposefully flawed.
And it really can be extremely irritating, aggravating to watch these headlines day after day after day, and things just keep getting a little bit worse, but nothing really happens, but they're still getting worse, and you're wondering, okay, how much worse can it get? But I like to try to bring solutions where we can, and that solution really is going within. And I hope we at least are able to motivate people every day to just prepare just a little bit more today than you did yesterday. Go within a little bit more today than you did before. So this is what it's all about, is walking each other through it.
Absolutely. And look at this right here. We see the 30-year mortgage rate. You can see 08 here. And then that crash happened, and then we get boom, 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 all down to our record lows. But look at this skyrocketing. That's incredible how fast it's going up. And this boggled my mind. Maybe it doesn't boggle your guys' minds, but do you know the average mortgage payment's $2,514 a month? And, for us, that's... That's 8 times what we pay. But we purposely put ourselves into one of the most affordable areas that we possibly could, because we don't want to be struggling to pay a overpriced mortgage where you don't even know what your house is going to be worth. And even here, I got like a notification saying check your home equity, and it's starting to dip a little, and that's to be expected. But at the same time, my mortgage payment's so low by choice that, I couldn't rent anything anywhere in the country for what the mortgage is. So it just makes sense. Again, what's coming? Well, total collapse is what's coming economically. It's got to be, again, order out of chaos. So, here now we are seeing the chaos, and then they will bring us the new world order after.
And it's something that's really no fun to sit and ponder or think about, but it's the reality of the world that we're walking into. And I always like to lean on the side of, what can we get out of this? What can we learn from this? How can we grow with this information? And I think that growth is very, very important when it comes to learning how are we going to work with other people moving forward, when we can all have so many issues and glitches ourselves. But I do want to keep bringing that up, the blessing that comes from underneath all of this mess.
Absolutely. There's always opportunity. And so this will be the most unaffordable market in history, as you can see here, because, you have the rates going one way. Now, more and more people are having a tougher and tougher time. And so one of the things that's happening now is, and we're going to cover this too, I might as well just jump straight over there. Amid surging inflation, inventories swamped in certain areas. So the basics get to be so expensive that people start to say, well, the couch ain't so bad, or, the car's only 4 years old. I was one of those people when I was driving a ton. I got stuck with old cars. I got stuck, up in Maine once, where it was like 20 miles in between exits. I had to, walk with my little one on my shoulders, and we were thankfully picked up by a, good Samaritan. That was a good Samaritan and helped out. And, those type of things. You don't want to run into that in the middle of a desert, absolutely not. So you want to have a good, safe vehicle, but at the same time, we've seen what's happened with the prices of vehicles, and then with the gas price. So how many of you out there are, owners of a gas guzzling truck? Well, hey, hands raised here too. Ours does have the technology that on the highway it gets about 20 miles per gallon. So, but still, when you're talking about gas, it's going to end up being $10, $12 a gallon or more. At some point, they might start limiting the amount you can buy. It's already starting to happen. We're getting some reports of that. This is all the stuff that we have to be prepared for. But, you will find discounts on a lot of things. You might, find a very affordable new bedroom set or what have you. These things that we don't absolutely have to have, where you do have to have food, you do have to have warmth in the winter, and you do, in many cases, you're going to need some cooling in the summer. This seems like the heat wave, everybody we're talking to, most definitely from our area here, and in the general vicinity is sweltering in temperature that's extremely unusual. A couple places we know are abnormally cold, like up in the Pacific Northwest. And what hits me is almost kind of like crazily funny is if you look at periods of grand solar minimums, when we go into those mini ice ages, it's usually the Pacific Northwest up to Alaska that kind of warms up. And we got the inverse going on. We have the sun cycle that's way beyond what it should be already. So it's really interesting. In some ways, I almost feel like it's God with the big G source saying, technology can be used all that they want, but at some point it can be overruled by, God's source, Mother Nature, so to speak, to make things right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one thing that I've been watching that actually has me concerned is the water levels out there in the West, and I'm sending a lot of energy and I'm shielding, because I don't want to see people run out of water. And this kind of sort of has happened, in a couple of different places. I think Yellowstone and Texas, which is, from accidents. But I don't like how that water is going down. And I hope you join me in sending energy to those and shielding those so that no one gets hurt. I never want to see anybody get hurt from these weather accidents.
Absolutely. It might be the case. Well, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a prime rib dinner or maybe have lobster tails? Boy, we haven't had lobster tails in forever. But, we need to buy a new computer. And since it's going to cost the same, that's the craziness of where we're probably heading. That some things that you could put off will be discounted deeply, especially as stores are starting to panic with stuff that's just not moving. And this is talking about Target, talking about a lot of different markdowns going on, Walmart, Best Buy, Gap, Urban Outfitters, same thing. Back in the day, back in the real day, like when my mom was growing up in the Depression, you had a hole in your pants. You didn't buy a new pair of pants. You put a patch on it.
Yeah.
Who puts patches on pants besides trying to, make a stylish statement nowadays?
Yeah.
Well, we might be heading back to that because you could buy a pair of pants, or you could have a dinner. Maybe you could have, you're going to have to make a choice between bare necessities, things that you really, really have to have, and things that you could be pushing off. And you see, Americans' credit card balances have mushroomed back to a record high $867 billion. It's and again, we have $1 trillion that's owed to China, basically, and 1.02 or so to Japan. When the landlord comes knocking and you can't pay the rent, what happens? What happens? So, this is just a real mess what we see going on right now. And as we see over here, Gatwick Airport cancels 4,000 flights until September due to staff shortages. I, for one, would not be surprised at all that there would be a staff shortage, especially of pilots and just anybody in that industry. I won't be surprised when they can't fill the ranks of military personnel because there's a whole bunch of military personnel slots that need to be filled, but there's nobody to fill them. Again, we can see signs of what's really going on if you guys know exactly what we're talking about. I know a lot of you guys follow us every single day. So you get where we're coming from. And again, you can't speak too plainly. So you have the White House to tackle online harassment and abuse with another new task force. Oh, yeah, sure. The control systems are operating full force right now. They're almost in panic mode. There was another video online on Twitter of the CEO of YouTube, making us talking about again controlling disinformation. Oh, hey, I'm so tired of hearing those words. Aren't you? Winter is coming. German agency warns of gas shortages, bankruptcies, massive price hikes. That's going to send shockwaves through the country. Well, this is globally now. And here we have Europe heat wave. Outdoor events are banned in parts of France. Oh, yeah. So, all those things are actually being banned now. Any sort of events. I mean, I can understand wanting to protect people, but it just seems like, Big Brother's gotten to the point where they're going to tell us all the time anything we can or can't do, and nothing's going to be our decision anymore.
I mean, it does really feel like a major overreach, right now, where they're just, okay, well, people aren't big enough to decide if it's too hot outside, so we're just going to tell them they can't, and, well, let's see how many actually listen, I mean, it's really disturbing, the kind of information things that they're doing right now.
Sorry, honey, we can't go have a picnic in the park because we might get sunburned.
Yeah.
This is what the government's saying. Now, if we go out there and we try to picnic, they're probably going to, tackle us, hog tie us, and then drag us back, maybe by their bumper.
Yeah, well, it's because the controllers love us so much.
And yes, it is deadly out there. A man dies in Death Valley after car ran out of gas. Senior citizen, he was 67. So he died in Death Valley after his car ran out of gas during record high temps. A park visitor found his body on Tuesday. 67-year-old David Kelleher apparently started walking in extreme heat after his car ran out of gas. National Park Service says he appears to have been walking from Zabriskie Point towards Furnace Creek after abandoning his car. Rangers say he had entered the park several days earlier, and a ranger noticed his car at Zabriskie Point parking log on June 8th and noticed the same car there 3 days later. The record temperatures were up to 123 degrees. So they did a search, and they did find his body at 2 p.m. on the 14th. He was about 2.5 miles from his vehicle, but only 30 feet from California Highway 190, obscured by terrain and a mesquite tree. This is how it can get to you. And so when we were out there, we had to drive 90 miles basically to go shopping. It could make you anxious. And it was not an environment I was used to, and I never felt comfortable.
No, it is. It's a very frightening environment. You really have to be ready. And look, we got old Gil Bates here.
Yeah, we found the answer to the cows. There it is. This is what happened in Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, this is just really awful. And so many people that I asked them, feel with your energy. What are you getting here? And so many people came back and they said, that's no heat wave.
Yeah, this is great in the sense that people are really using their intuition. And again, this is all part of the times. The energy that's coming in is reawakening DNA that's been dormant, our latent psychic abilities, and many people are getting turned on, and people are starting to be able to just look at something and say, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. As we have a Gil Bates photobomb. And it's amazing how these times are just so similar to what happened in the 1930s and 1940s. The energy is the same. Even the tactics, the stance, the facial expressions. History repeats itself.
I know. You're sure he's not just looking anxious because he might have leaked.
Or maybe he had too much chili and he's got to go.
Gotta go.
So, as always, guys, thanks for your support on Patreon and also on Ko-Fi. We couldn't do it without your help. Do check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com to make an appointment. It's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com. and we're booked about 2 to 3 weeks out, just to let you guys know, as far as Vedic charts, maybe like an extra week, as Cindy is deep in charts, but we love to help you guys as always. So keep reaching out to others, formulate plans, try to get outside the system as much as possible, grow your own food wherever you can, let no windowsill be unused, so to speak. And we still have a long way to go too. We understand, it's going to be a challenging time. So stay rooted, stay grounded, have that spiritual practice. In my mind, that's still always the biggest thing, because again, we're spiritual beings having a temporary 3D roller coaster ride here on planet Earth.
Yeah, and it's kind of tough out there emotional wise, so be good to each other.
Much love. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.